when I went looking for my coach, I couldn't find a Jewish coach that I wanted to work with because I just wasn't impressed with the people out there. And I was looking online, I was looking everywhere. And on Instagram, I'm like, where are all the Jewish coaches? And like, I found coaches in like, you know, in health, and I find coaches in all these, you know, certain business, whatever, but like nothing in what I love doing, which is this personal growth, which is why I started that in the first place a long time ago. And it was like, why is there such a lack in that? And so that's when I was like, this is what I'm going to go into.
Welcome back, everybody, to episode 3 of the Jews on Social podcast. This is Yossi Loloyan. I just want to remind you that it's you guys who make this podcast possible. Please like, share, subscribe, comment, and enjoy this episode with Nachman Hoffman, an incredible guy who I met not too long ago, who's helping Jewish men all around the world. Before you get into the episode, I just want to let you guys know, for those who are watching, there were a few minutes where Nachman's video cuts out, and so we only have the audio. Sorry about that, but it's still an incredible listen. And for those listening, forget I said anything. And on to the episode.
Today we have with us Nachman Hoffman. He's a coach for Jewish men looking to level up professionally and in their personal life. I met Nachman not too long ago, and we got to talking, and I think he's doing some amazing things. And without further ado, I want to just invite Nachman to tell us a little bit about his background, you know, where he comes from and what he does and everything else.
Yeah, so thanks so much for having me, Yossi. I really appreciate it. So I'll give you the quick version, and whatever else you want to get into, I'm happy to get into. But I grew up in Maryland, and I say Silver Spring, and whenever everyone hears Silver Spring, they think, you know, a very Jewish area. I did not grow up in that area, in the Jewish area of it. I grew up, you know, with very little Jewish friends and basically lived a pretty secular lifestyle. My family, very traditional in terms of we had Pesach and we had it in our, you know, everyone comes together and has matzah, and that's what Pesach is, and some Manischewitz wine. And so it was something that, you know, we knew we were Jewish, but we grew up, you know, just basically very traditional. And it wasn't such a focal point. It was important, but it wasn't anything more than a bar mitzvah. After the bar mitzvah, that was kind of the end of my Jewish learning. And from there, I just lived your typical, I guess you could say, secular lifestyle. Sports was everything. That's all I wanted to do, play sports. And then college, it was partying. But I always knew I wanted to get into business. I just didn't know what I wanted to get into. So when I went to college, I got a CPA, or I got my accounting degree, you know, eventually then got my CPA because I knew accounting was the language of business, and said I'd figure it out as we go. So went to University of Delaware, you know, accounting program, you know, the accounting and minor in information systems, and basically did what, you know, you were supposed to do, which I knew was the best thing is to get a job at the Big Four accounting. It'll help you obviously tremendously in business and management and all these different things. So I wanted to get a job there. I got the internship at Ernst & Young, and from internship comes a job. And so I just, you know, did that normal path, another, you know, career choice, and just figured that I would stick with it for at least, someone told me, stay there for at least 6 years, become a manager, and you'll be worth gold wherever you go. But I really just wanted to get the experience, so I did that. While I was there, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. That's when I realized I really got into health and, you know, personal growth and all these areas. And again, I'm giving the shortest version possible. And so we can get into anything you want to as we go. And one thing that really stood out was when I was my last year of college, I had this weird dream of death, but it wasn't like a grotesque image. It was more of like the plug is pulled and that was it. And for some reason, it really, really shook me to my core. And from then on, I started to search, like, okay, what's important to me? What am I here to do? And I started to get into a lot of different modalities and learning things and whatever I could. So it's just a little sidebar because that eventually led me to learning more about Judaism down the road. But to shorten the story, it was basically after E&Y, I left to help a company go public. I got my CPA, my MBA, you know, letters, they sound good, but, you know, just worked hard. And
Yeah.
then from there, moved to Arizona because my brother was there. He just bought a house, and I love my friends and family. I needed a change. I needed, every weekend, every week there was a birthday, this or that. And I felt bad not going. And I was like, well, if I go to Arizona, I'm not going to feel bad. I'll be there. And it's just, it'll be my way to just focus on the business. I went out to Arizona, started my own business, personal growth company, basically doing that every day,
What
literally
does that
every
look
day.
like? Like, what's a personal growth company look like?
Yeah. So basically everything that I learned from that dream that I had until that point. So everything that I was learning going along the way, I wanted to help people with it. So, for example, I got into health. I loved healthy lifestyle. I got really healthy. There was a comment a family member made about my face filling out, basically saying you got fat, and I was like, oh, okay, thank you. And my sister was there, so she like made fun of me. It was right after college. She was like, look at you. Yeah, you ate a little too much and probably a little too hard in college. So I just got very serious. I was like, okay, I'll show you. And so 30 days later, I lost 30 pounds.
Wow. 30
Yeah,
days?
30 days, 30 days, 30 pounds. I
What
went
did you
on
do?
it's called the abs diet. It's something from Men's Health. But
Oh,
I'm very,
really?
very, very, I do what I got to do. And so I followed the path. I did exactly what it told me to do. I did it. And
Wow.
I started to feel good. I started to have more energy. I was like, okay, this is really cool. So I started really getting into it. And then I was like, well, maybe I'm going to start a health company. And so before I did that, I was working with people at my company. There was a group of I was starting to manage a team, and the team that I was managing at Ernst and Young, they all wanted to lose weight. So we did this challenge during busy season. For those that don't know, busy season's crazy. It's just crazy hours, awful food. You're working all day, and then all your food is covered and paid for, and you're just buying out every day. So like my team all wanted to lose weight, or they wanted to at least stay in shape. So we
Right.
did this challenge. After busy season, everyone stayed the same or lost weight, which was like a huge thing. It somehow made it to the national publication, and there's 100,000 employees at E&Y, and so I read the article and I was like, oh my gosh, because like they interviewed one of the people that actually lost weight, and she was like, I've never felt so good about myself. I have so much more energy, and I was like, wow, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to get into. It was amazing. It
And
could have
and
impact.
you set this into motion.
Yeah. So while I was still working at E&Y, I was like, okay, I'm going to get some certifications. I have to get certifications to train people, right? So I got all these certifications. I was trained. I got like my personal trainer certification, lifestyle and weight management certification. I got TRX certified. Got all these things so I could
Oh,
actually
wow.
train
Okay.
people. And I started training people. And after everyone had successes, I started to see they started going backwards again. I was like, what? Why are they doing this? I don't understand. Like, you just lost the weight. Why would you go backwards? You know you're feeling. You got more energy. Now what? And so then I started learning, and I read Man's Search for Meaning. And I was like, oh, it's all about meaning. And this is all
Viktor
before
Frankl,
Judaism.
right?
Yeah, Viktor
This one.
Frankl. All before any Judaism, anything at all. So then I was like, wow, that's what I'm going to get into, and I got to show people that there's got to be a reason behind your life. And so then I started getting into time management, doing more. Everything I got my hands on, I got on, and then I started to build this program that helped people kind of through this process. And as I was going through all that, it was just like, okay, what can I do to utilize what I enjoy doing, what I'm best at, and what I know? So I just started building a company, and I was in Arizona, and it's a long story, but the short version is there was another guy in Arizona who was doing something in the personal growth realm as well, and we were talking. He's like, "Why don't you just join forces with me?" He's like, he's already sold a successful business. He's done a lot of different things, so he's like, "I'll buy your business. You join me, and help me with this business." So I did that. He bought my business. I started helping him, but then I got married. I became observant. All these different things that happened, and so things started to change. I started to obviously I couldn't live the same lifestyle that I was living, which was very
Mm.
minimalistic. Nothing. I spent money on nothing except.
Well, I wanted to. Okay, so you're in this company, and this company it's in busy season, which means that it's actually much more difficult to go on this diet.
Yep.
So out of all the times you picked to do it this time, that's why it was like. I guess I don't understand it, but I'm getting that's why it made
Yeah. So
headlines.
basically, the reason it happened is everyone knows with busy season comes weight gain, and it's
Right.
normal. People,
They're going to the kebab stand and just,
yeah,
buying.
no, it's not even that. It's like, for example, we traveled, we were out of town, we were in St. Louis, which is a very unhealthy city in its first place. But
Really?
we're eating, yeah, it's very, very unhealthy.
What makes
Um,
St. Louis unhealthy? I'm just curious. What
no,
makes it
I mean,
unhealthy?
it's just like that like style. There's like
Okay.
St. Louis is like known for,
St. Louis cuisine
street,
is not good for you. Okay.
yeah, yeah, basically.
That's funny.
Um, and so we were all there together, and that means we're eating 3 meals out a day. So
Mm.
breakfast, lunch, and dinner are being, either ordered or at the hotel or whatever.
So no
So
home cooked meals,
nothing.
horrible oils,
Yeah, and you
everything
couldn't
with sugar.
even cook the stuff if you wanted to yourself. You couldn't do it because we're in hotel rooms.
Yeah.
So it's just a very hard situation. So one person came to me and said she wants to lose weight. And I was like, okay. So I was running the team. So I was like, guys, anyone else want to lose weight? Should we do this as a team? Because you have snacks in the office all day. You always get snacks and food. And so it's like everything about the situation is unhealthy. And so because she asked me and the team was like, yeah, let's try this. Even the partners were like, this would be cool. Let's see what happens. And basically everyone either stayed the same or lost weight. And so that was a true testament to just eating right and doing our best and taking care of what comes into your body. So
Is that how you make it happen? Like with all of
yeah, so I did the
this.
shopping. I did all the shopping. I helped to make the orders. Like everything that was ordered was without without butter or without fat or without, just grilled, no oils, salads, you take the oil and keep it on the side and just dip your fork in it. You portion
Right.
control. People would ask me, "Oh, how much is this or that?" Like, so it's just being very aware of what people were eating, and we just went through it. And so
So it wasn't like you had
everyone,
so basically, and this is I think the main thing with dieting, and I heard this. I'm not going to go into the whole thing, but basically, portion control is a huge part of what people like. The basically, it's all about addition and subtraction, right? Either you do more exercise and you eat less. That's pretty much
yeah,
what weight gain is about. Then of course there's healthier or unhealthier foods, but
right.
that's basically the gist of it.
Yeah, so that's exactly it. And also, the person who wanted to lose weight also went to the gym. We went in the morning. A couple of us all went to the gym in the morning. So the people that really wanted to lose weight were serious about it. And so they were going to do things that would help them with that. But everyone else, it was just eating. It was just diet. Diet is
Yeah.
90% of, of it all. Obviously working out helps with many other things like endorphins and feeling better and energy, concentration, focus, all that stuff. It's huge with, but if you just ate differently, like people stop drinking soda. Like it's such an easy thing, but like if you drink a lot of soda and have a lot of liquid calories, it's not gonna end up so well.
Right. And
And
also,
and so it's
don't
just
drink your
simple things.
calories, right? That's what they
Yeah, it's
say.
just simple things, and so it worked out well. And then once I realized that the effect it had on someone, I thought this was the business I was going to go into. But after
So
that, then
you
I started to realize, okay, there's so much more to this onion.
so you found I guess relatively early that you wanted to help people. You saw how rewarding this was.
Yeah, I
You're like,
said
I
if
want
I
to
could
help
have
people.
meaning, if I can have meaning or do something impactful in a business, that would be the best thing. There's no question. But I
Right.
wasn't anywhere near like the way I think now. Like that was like such it was still very, very external. Like I was helping people. It was just that it was a very big like for me, ego was a big thing for me. Like it just I wanted to just go running every day with my shirt off, but so everyone could see my abs. Like it was all ego. It
Yeah.
was all ego. Now people were feeling better. I was feeling better, and it was good. It was a good thing. It's not a negative, but that was just the first step.
I think it's interesting you're saying that because I think that's a necessary thing where people start doing something for reasons, and then they realize, wait, like you're saying, it's not a good enough reason,
Right. No, and
and so now I have to find something else.
exactly. So what happened was, I first was a six pack. I got a six pack. Then I was like, okay, now it must be bigger arms. I got bigger arms. Now it must be a better whatever. And then it was a car. And then it was more money. Then it was, and it just kept going. So I went through that whole process as well. But the good thing is, what I did learn is it is important. And I went from outside to inside. I really went from the external side of things and to inside, where I don't think there's a negative to that because it's very important to get your health down because then That's the first thing, even with what I work with clients today, one of the first things I get into is health right away. Like if your health is not there, if you're not feeling good, if you don't have good energy, you're not focused on your sleep, and you're not doing, things that are going to help you, you can only get so far no matter what you do. So that's always been a starting point for me because you get momentum. And once you get momentum, it can go into new things. And that's where, it just starts to snowball in a positive way.
Yeah, I think that's the famous Rambam that says that, like, you know, uh, having a healthy body is part of the ways of serving Hashem.
Yep.
Like it's part and parcel, and I think people don't realize, like, you know, when you don't feel okay, when you don't have energy, it stops you from doing so many things that you are obligated to do.
Yep.
And even people that have very, I know about myself, there are goals that we have, and if and we want these goals really badly, but if we're not motivated enough to make the changes that are necessary to show up to these things, to do the work that's necessary, to put in the work to make the changes, it's hard, it's real work, and it's even painful, right?
Yeah.
It's the no pain no gain, right? It's giving up instant gratification for delayed gratification. All these things, it starts with just routine, with what you intake. And famously today, you see the intake is not just food. A diet is not just what you ingest. Diet with what's edible, it's what you see and what you hear, and who you spend time with. All of these things are part of what makes you who you are.
Yeah, no, and that's actually one of the things when I was invited. So what happened with in my Jewish journey is I was learning everything and whatever I can get my hands onto, learning and growing. Someone around Hanukkah time was like, "Hey, we're starting the Tanya anew. Would you like to learn the Tanya?" And I was like, "Well, what's that?" And he was like, "Oh, it's spiritual growth, how to get better." I was like, "Oh, I'm in," because I loved everything about how to get better and how to grow. And right when I started to learn it, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I have so much work to do," because
Where were you? Where were you in this, in your transition?
so I was 31. I moved to Arizona. I was already in Arizona for like a year,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I was in the middle of building my business, and it was just a time where I was like, okay, why not learn about Judaism? I know nothing about it. And I just thought it was like some, old religion, riding on camels and donkeys, and can't, use technology because that's just, too easy to do.
Like the
So
Amish.
yeah, that's exactly what I thought. I was like, it's just like, all these old things. It makes no sense. So
Yeah.
I started learning the Tanya, and I was just blown away. And it was right away, like the long short road, basically
Yeah.
saying right away, it's the effort that's gonna get you to that place. And then I just realized, like, wow, I have so much work to do.
So you're saying you had very little connection. Then you moved to Arizona. When do you get more in touch with either Yiddishkeit itself or with people who are influencing you
Yeah.
to go more toward? Okay.
Yeah, it's a great question. What happened was one of my mentors was a business coach in California, and
Mm.
he was one of my big mentors, and I was trained by him and teaching a program on entrepreneurship, and really thought a lot about this guy, and really, really, liked this guy a lot. And so when we were there, he's like, "You should speak to Chabad." I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Chabad, I've worked with." His name is Michael Gerber. He wrote a book called The E-Myth Revisited, and it's a very famous book. And so he's worked with Chabad and basically helped them create systems on the West Coast. He helped them all with like different systems and how to, when people
Really?
come in and stuff like that. So he's like, go to Chabad. They all know me. It's a kind of like a warm lead, and you could talk to them, and then you could teach your program on entrepreneurship to their people. And so I started to meet all the Chabads, and that's what happened. One of the Chabads, I went to the Hanukkah party, was meeting everyone, and there was a guy there that started the Tanya, and then it so happened now he became like my big mentor and just a really really close friend, and it was you had me every Shabbat, like it was amazing, like it just. But
Oh
that's
wow. Okay.
yeah, it's a lot longer story, but that's how I became more connected. And it was funny when I was at the event, there was a Chabad guy, and he's like, "Do you want to put tefillin on?" I was like, "Whatever, man, I'll do it. Whatever, I don't care."
Okay.
And it was like, I haven't put it on since bar mitzvah. It was a long, it
Wow.
was like 20 years.
So you put it
And
on once before.
yeah, I mean, I put it on probably a few times because actually when I got bar mitzvahed, I had a very good voice, and they wanted me to learn the Torah for a little bit, so I did
Oh,
it
okay.
a little bit, and I would wear tefillin then, but um, that was it. And so then this guy, asked me to do it, and I remember the Shema. And actually, Shema was the one thing that I would even do in college for some reason. I don't know why, but like I always did the Shema, and I always prayed my own way, just talk to God like 101.
That's
Um,
amazing. That's
but
amazing.
yeah,
Wow.
but then and then that's how I met Chabad, and then I met all the Chabads, and then that's what led me to starting to learn the Tanya.
That's beautiful. Wow. And then I guess from there, you know, from there.
Yeah, there it started. That was just the beginning. I started learning once a week. This guy who invited me also did all the young professional programming where I lived. It was Chandler, Arizona, and he did a lot of them for like just the young professionals in the area of like Phoenix area. Like he did a lot with just a lot of all the different groups. And so I would go once a month to the young professional Shabbat. I'd go there, I'd drive home, I'd learn the Tanya once a week. And basically, I made a commitment to him that I would do one Shabbat with him in the year. I'll do one Shabbat with him, a full Shabbat, and that was it. And so, I did that. It was the hardest Shabbat ever. It was like very, very hard for me, to be disconnected and not
Really?
working. Yeah, disconnected and not working. I'm just used to working all day, every
You
day.
were
I
so
love it.
used to being plugged in, and you just
Always.
plugged
Yeah.
out.
It was so uncomfortable, unhealthy food, l'chaims, and I just I
That's
needed
true.
a break from the day of break. Like
Yeah,
it was hard.
Shabbos. Most Shabbos foods are in some way will mess up your diet.
Yeah. Yeah. I know I
That's
like to
funny.
believe the calories don't count on Shabbat with Tanug, but you have to be purposeful though. It's important.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Okay. But okay. So how did you feel at the end of that Shabbos?
I just couldn't believe like people could do this. Like it was so hard. I was so uncomfortable. Because I didn't know anything about what we were doing. Like the praying was just like just sitting there, like not really interested in praying. I was reading in
Wow.
English, like 'cause I learned to read Hebrew, but I didn't know what I was saying, and I was not even I couldn't even read Hebrew great. I was just very slow,
Right.
um, and so it was just super hard. Like I felt like what am I going to do all day? Like I didn't at that point. I did like reading, so I would read maybe something, but like it was just so much food, so much just it was just overwhelmed. I had no clue like what I was doing in that whole day, and it felt like the day went on forever. It felt like a year, just like
Yeah.
going so
Yeah.
slowly. I'm like, when is this done?
Because Shabbos, there's no. It's above time. It literally is
Yeah,
above time. So you're
yeah,
like, that's so funny. Wow. 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 So the average guy, okay, cool, party, booze, liquor, and you're like, I can't do this.
yeah, yeah.
That's
No, and
funny.
like I'm used to like it was just totally out of my comfort zone. And like we were saying earlier about comfort, and one of my favorite sayings is the only way to become comfortable is to first become uncomfortable. So I was very uncomfortable, and it just took a time. It took time for me. It took time to learn about it and grow and to really want to take it on. And it took a while before that happened.
Uh-huh. And okay. So uh, I've interrupted a lot, but I just want to ask you one more thing. So you said you got married at some point. You already married now?
No, no, I wasn't married at that point.
Right. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah,
Otherwise, you would have. Okay. No, because I'm curious. Like, I always wonder about people, let's say, who get married and they're on a certain level, and then the growing together. I think it's just fascinating to hear those stories.
yeah. Well, so for me, something that was very different is that my wife actually grew up from birth.
Okay.
And so for me, that was really huge for my growth because I knew nothing. And for me, like I was saying, food for me is fuel. Like I could care less. Like, sure, I have things I like, but if you told me tomorrow I couldn't eat something that I love, I'd be like, okay. Like, would I miss it? Yeah, I'd probably miss it, but like, I would do it. It wouldn't be a big deal. Like, I would just do it. And so my wife being from birth, she taught me so much. But like what was perfect about it is we both needed each other because I was coming into this fresh. like excited and motivated and like wanting to do everything. And she's
You were on the
coming
way up.
from, yeah, and she's coming from the other angle of just like, stagnation. And like there was less like energy in it. And so for the
Right.
two of us, we both really complimented each other in our growth. And so it worked. It was like amazing how it worked out because like she knew everything about kosher. I didn't, and she taught me like everything. Like it helped me with all my stuff. But then I would infuse it with like godliness and like more spiritual energy because like I was coming at it from such a fresh angle, and she did it her whole life. And so like we were able to like work off each other, and really complement each other in the growth. Like the growth was just different for her. It was like doing extra learning and getting more into like a concept whereas before she was kind of just stagnant with it, and it just like it worked really well in terms of like our growth together. Like it was something
That's
that
so incredible.
complimented us. Yeah,
You know what that reminds me of? It's like, first, I mean, in general, the man is considered the mashpia and the woman is the makabel, but in this sense,
it was
but
like
right,
flipped.
the giver and the receiver. But the reason I'm saying is, right, number one, it was flipped, meaning that she was the one who had the knowledge and you were receiving the knowledge. But there's this like famous saying that actually the giver at the end could be the one who receives even more.
Right.
And what was happening is that what I'm hearing is that you gave your wife a renewed approach to Judaism, something she had her whole life, and you gave her something that she never had access to before.
Yeah, it was just like it just opened up a little more of a spark, um,
Yeah.
in just daily life because she was used to doing everything, and it was kind of rote. It's like anything. It's like if you do the same thing over and over again, it's like you lose a little bit of the appreciation for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we just worked. It just worked really well together. Like we really complement each other very well, and she helped me a lot. I helped her a lot, and it was a huge blessing for both of us. And thank God, like she grew up, her parents were actually Bali Tshuva, which is why it worked out because she understood that life because her family was also, they're not religious. And so being able to like navigate that was important to me as well because I have a great relation with my
Right.
family. And so I saw how my wife could handle like everyone like in the community, her family. And I just saw how everyone loved her and how she was just a natural like bringing people together. She had that like that
Yeah.
unique talent of being able to relate to everyone, and that was just so important, especially with our marriage, because not being able to understand like where my parents are coming from, or my brother and my sister and my family and everyone was a huge thing for me as well. And she knew how to do like handle all of it. She did it
Yeah.
all like in her family. So like it
She was
was
familiar with your world already. That's
exactly
pretty cool. Wow.
exactly
Okay. Right. Someone for everyone, as they say, but
exactly.
in a positive connotation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um. Okay. Sorry. So. Yeah. I want to. Hear. Tell us more. So you're going. You're now at the point where you're learning Tanya.
Yeah, so I started to learn once a week, and I'm getting an appreciation for it. I realize how much work I have to do, and so the commitment I made to my buddy Yaakov, who's the one who brought me in, is that I'll put on tefillin every day. So I started with tefillin. I would do it with my shirt off, looking at myself in the mirror. Some like egotistical stuff that I felt like I was like this, I was like this crazy spiritual guy now. Like it's so cool, and
Mirror selfie.
yeah, exactly, and and so I started learning and growing, and I started coming to all the young professional Shabbats, and I started to, get close to some of the people in the community. And one of the guys was at that time, I think it was like 84, 85-year-old guy. And we just became friends, like in this weird way. Like I always walk him home after shul and then go to Yaakov's for the young professional Shabbat, but I always walk him home. And one time I was walking him home and he was like, "Hey, I really want to go visit my sister in Israel, but no one can take me. Like my wife can't take me because she has, diabetes and this and that, and she couldn't go. And I need to figure out because my sister is getting very sick, and I really like to see her before she passes." So I went back to Yaakov and I was like, "Hey man, we got to figure out a way to get him there. Like this." And he's like, "Well, why don't you take him?" I was like, "I'm working on startups all day. All my money, everything's invested in the business. There's no way I'm going to do this." And he's like, "What do you mean? Like, all it is a go for a summer program to like," or he's like, I'll get it fund. If I get it funded, would you be able to, would you do it?" And I was like, "Can I work or whatever?" He's like, "Sure. Like, you'd have to do some learning. Like maybe you'll do a little summer program at a yeshiva, but like you can learn Tanya all day. You can do whatever you want, you know?" And I was like, I was like, all right, if I could do some work, if I could still do my work there, if I can, and I'm going to be able to learn Tanya, which I'm already enjoying and learning, like, cool. So, like, we figured out a way. And so I was going to a summer program, My Note. It was a 5-week program. And this guy was going to come out and I was going to take him around for the last 2 weeks and show him, to his sisters and then, do whatever he wanted to do and kind of help him out. So basically he like tricked me. He gave me a sitter and tzitzis. And I was like, what do I need these for? He's like, you'll probably need them. Like, dude, I'm just going to learn Tanya and that's it. So I get there and I am very, very uncomfortable. I have no clue what's going to happen at yeshiva. I don't know anything. At this point, I'm still reading everything in English. Like, I don't, I'm not really davening. It's whatever. And that first weekend, I asked the guy, like, what do you wear for Shabbat? He's like, wherever you want, just be comfortable, whatever, whatever. So I show up in the morning, comfortable, like in a t-shirt. Not even a t-shirt. It's like a polo. And everyone's in black and white. And everyone's dressed up. And I'm like, what is going on here? You told me I can be comfortable in whatever I want. And I am now more uncomfortable than I've ever been in my life, not knowing what's going on. And just like standing there, like just blown away. And then like, I never realized this, but at the end of Eleni, when everyone spits, like I'm just standing there and there's a guy next to me. All of a sudden he's like, Haksa Loogie on the ground. I'm like, what is going on here? Like, what did I get myself into? Like, this is crazy. And that night, I'm like,
anywhere else you wouldn't have seen that.
yeah, I don't normally, but even in general, like I know, obviously I'm aware of it. So I see when everyone does it, whatever. I know what it means now, but like, to me, I was like, what the heck did I just get myself into? And that night I was like, I don't know if I can do this. And I was like, I am so uncomfortable. But then I remembered, I was like, oh yeah, right. Only way to become comfortable is to first become uncomfortable. And I was like, so uncomfortable that I was like, all right, I guess this is good. I'm going to learn something and this is good. And so that Sunday, I just got into a routine where like, I went on a run in the morning to kind of get my head clear, to go on soccer and, I was in Jerusalem. So like I got that time beforehand and like a weird thing is another story, but like I was already jumping in a pool every morning, like as like a mikvah. So like I found a mikvah that I was going into every morning and it was like, I came into like a little routine where I started to get comfortable. I would learn Tanya in the morning before davening. I daven my own way. I would do a few things in Hebrew. Everything else is in English. And I got into a rhythm. Like I spent a few hours at least, working on the business. So I felt like I was doing that instead of like attending certain things that were optional. And so I started to get into a flow and I started growing. And by the end of that 5-week period, I was like, I want to take on Shabbat, but I want to take it on my way. Meaning like, I'm taking things on, but I'm going to take it on at my own pace. And so the way I do everything is the way you do anything is basically when I take something on, I take it on. So when I took on tefillin, I took it on. That was it. Like I'm not going backwards. I'm only going to go forward. And so when I took on the Shema, I took on the Shema, and then I did the Shema. Then I added the Mida. And then I added, parts in English. Then I added the whole thing in English and added more in Hebrew. So like I would just take things on slowly at a pace that I could maintain and grow with to where I wouldn't go backwards. And so like an hour a morning, I was doing like a couple things, but like it was never going to be much more than an hour. Like I would always like, once I got something down and maybe shorten the time frame, I would add something new. So like I did it in a way that was reasonable for me, but where I would continually be growing and not taking on too much that I couldn't actually maintain it because I never want to go backwards. So every time I did something, I did it in a way that I knew I could take it on. Like, and it's still the same today. Like, same thing as with today. Like, with everything that I do, when I take something on, I make sure it's not going to like, if it's 10 minutes, okay, extra, okay. But like, eventually that 10 minutes will turn into 2 minutes. And then like, I'll eventually have another 8 to 10 minutes to do something else or add something or whatever. So it's like, it's constant. That's how I took everything on. And so when I came back,
a lot of people, including myself, could take a page out of that book because it's so easy to take on achletas, right? And then you burn out, and it's it's the way it's the only way to grow.
It's
planning.
What's funny about this is I'm actually doing a group coaching program tonight, and I did it on hachletas, on how to make a hachleta, because based on what I've done, but based on also utilizing ChatGPT to help you go through it, brainstorm, and work through it, because I'm a big proponent of AI and utilizing AI as a tool. But that's how I always do everything. It's when I'm taking something on, I take it on. I'm not going backwards. And so, I just had a chleta for this year, with Anyotis Kislev, with a buddy. We're learning to start learning. We have a thing we're doing. But again, I had to make sure, could I really do it? And what does it mean? And I actually reached out to him. And I was like, okay, look, we're meeting every week. We just met yesterday for the first one. We're meeting every Wednesday from 7 to 7:40, and we're going to do some learning. He's also my Mashpia and whatever. So I messaged him today. I was like, hey, there's 50 Wednesdays between this year and next year's Chagagula. What are we going to do? Is it every week? Is it 45 out of 50? And those 5 others, we at least do a call check-in? Is it, so I want to make sure we're on point. We make an agreement together that we're both in it in terms of the commitment, and that it's clear, so that at the end of the next year, when we get to next year, we say, yeah, we accomplished what we said we set out to accomplish, and we didn't go backwards, and we held our commitment. So that's how I do it I do it on myself, this way, but then with someone else, that's why I did that. I'm confirming with him what it means to us to be successful and what that looks like, and where we're, to make sure that we're both committed to this in the right way, and that things come up. Like, for example, his wife is due any day now. So if he has a baby, are we going to just move it to a different day? Or are we going to have a little leeway in it to where it's like, okay, 3 to 5, again, we have to pick the number, but that we're going to say, okay, there's Pesach, there's all these, obviously a lot of times they're going to happen over the calendar of the next year. That would be the only things that would get in the way of our, Wednesday night. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Wow. So I guess you already got into speaking about coaching. Maybe just, I guess, quickly close the gap between, where you are now and how you got to where you are today, and then talk about what you do.
Yeah. So basically, the short of the story is when I came back from my note, I started observing Shabbat. Again, not really knowing what that meant. This guy Yaakov, who brought me in, let me stay at his house every Shabbat, which was he's a huge tzaddik. There's no question, to be with his family every week. We love hosting guests, but having someone in your space every Shabbos is crazy. Absolutely crazy.
So how old are you when you're in Mayano?
32, 33.
Wow. So there's all ages in Mayano.
Yeah, I was older than most of the rabbis. It was crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, at that time. But I had a very baby face. It was here's the before the beard. So
okay.
I looked very young. I kind of fit in with these guys, except that these guys, a lot of them were just very young and they're excited about going out. And I was over that phase. I did all that in my past. So
you were the Elta Bacher. You're
yeah, basically.
Wow.
So then, yeah, to make a long story short, I got married, and I was working on the startups, and then I realized, okay, I gotta really actually make more money than just building businesses. And the one business that was sold, I had to wait until if it was going to actually make money in the future, if I was actually getting paid from it, because I had a ownership stake in another company, and so equity based and all that. So I was like, okay, I gotta make money somehow. So I had to go back to different work and different jobs, and ended up helping some companies and helping some businesses build their businesses. And make a long story short, after being in entrepreneurship and doing a lot of different companies and starting a few and doing some consulting, we made Aliyah. And out here, I had work from Arizona. I was helping a company and helping them build it. But when I came here, they owed me a lot of money, so I wanted to learn and more, because I was still young in my Baal Tshuva stage. It was my first year or two. I wanted to learn, so we came to Tzfat. And because I figured that would be a great place to learn, it was my wife's dream to make Aliyah. It was my dream to just learn more and get better. So we decided Tzfat. Well, I decided Tzfat, and she agreed, because that was the deal. And again, I'm skipping a lot because there's a lot to it. It's very complicated.
For sure.
But basically, I came here and was helping a company, and then came up on this opportunity to be the CEO of a culinary institute, $30 million company that JNF USA was putting together.
Really?
JNF in America. And so I was the CEO for that for the last 6 years. And then the war came and things, I needed a change. I needed something different. The Culinary Institute's, wasn't open yet, but I did everything. I put everything together, the strategy, everything, the team, what needed, all the forecasts, everything, the curriculum, I did all that with a team and people and put everything together, and decided it was a good time to leave because it's a long story, but the short version was, JNF had their vision, I had my vision, and we just figured, you know, instead of trying to force things and someone get upset, I figured it'd be best to just hand the keys over and get into something else, which is what I was really, really passionate about, which is coaching. And that's when I started to get into that because I love personal growth. I've always been into it of how to do more, how to be better, whether it's sleep, or tapping or time management, whatever. It didn't matter. I got into everything to learn and get better and just grow and learn more about myself. And so once I left, I started to work with some guys, and I love working with people that are ambitious, people that have big dreams, that are looking to do big things, because a lot of times we think that you have to sacrifice something you have to definitely sacrifice in terms of you have to work. There's no question about that. But a lot of people think you have to sacrifice your family life for work, or you have to sacrifice. You don't. You don't have to sacrifice Torah for work either. You can work 6 days a week. You can work. All this stuff is built in to the system that Hashem created, and so over these last, 12 years or so, 10, 12 years of growing from starting my Jewish journey until now, and now I have 4 kids, 6 and under. I did all this while having this high position, a CEO position, raising all kinds of money. And it was a, high intense position with what I was doing and high stakes and all this stuff. And just showing that all of this can be done if you figure out the ways to be efficient with your time, to really spend your time on what matters, to be focused, and to really know where you're going and what's most important. And so that's what I like to teach everyone. It's like you can have your cake and eat it too, but it's very difficult. It's very precise. A cake, and I don't know because I don't cook, even though it's funny, like I helped this culinary institute build a culinary institute, which without, caring about food or wanting to make food. But I know baking is very precise. It's a science. And the same thing I believe in life is that we need to figure out these little things that can really have huge impacts in our lives, whether it's sleep and, figuring out better ways to get more sleep or better quality sleep and stuff like that. And so now I got to this place where it's like I love the personal growth side of things. And also, I realized like I went looking for a coach myself because I'm a big believer in the coaching process, because basically all coaching does is it shrinks the time for you to learn something. It shrinks the time for you to learn something. And so something that would naturally take you 2 years to learn on your own, you can learn in 2 months with someone who's already done it. And so coaching, the main thing with coaching is you want to get into areas that people have already been to where you want to go. And so when I went looking for my coach, I couldn't find a Jewish coach that I wanted to work with, because I wasn't impressed with the people out there. And I was looking online, I was looking everywhere, and on Instagram, I'm like, where are all the Jewish coaches? And like, I found coaches in like, in health, and I find coaches in all these, certain business, whatever, but like nothing in what I love doing, which is this personal growth, which is why I started that in the first place a long time ago. And it was like, why is there such a lack in that? And so that's when I was like, this is what I'm going to go into. And that's why I'm on social media. I don't want to be on social media. I don't want to spend my time creating content. But I realized that if I'm not going to, who's going to do it? Like, you have all these rabbis that teach great things and great stuff, but they're out of shape. And I'm like, that's a total disconnect from Torah in a sense. Like, people don't realize that, like, yeah, if you're not healthy, you can't serve Hashem in the best way possible. And so I'm like, why are all these people? Where are the other people that are not rabbis that are able to help influence others? Want to grab life by the horns and just take control of what they can control. Because obviously we know the big boss is in charge of everything, and that's it. But the point is that he wants us to be a partner in it. He wants us to do the work. He wants us to feel that, because we know the bread is shame. If without doing the work, there's no accomplishment anyways. So it's like, so that's when I really got into this, and I was just like, this is what I'm going to do. And so that's when I started getting into coaching, and I basically coached 2 groups of people. The first group is someone who's really looking to just create a very solid foundation. So they can already be, either married or just newly married, or like growing in their journey, but like need that foundation of health, time management, making goals, getting clear on where they want to go, career, businesses. And then the last is like last phase is called Mashiach, but that's like, relationships, Shalom Bayit, and things like that. So like, that's like the first group. The second group is people that are also already very ambitious. They have a very solid foundation, but they want to get to that next level. So they're already doing well in business or they're making good money, but now they want to get to that next level, which is like usually people can't see that next level beyond, their own mind. And so that's where someone coming in from the outside could take a look and just be like, oh, these are some things, ask good questions and show them that there's a whole nother level behind it. So to make a long story short, I had to find a coach that wasn't Jewish. I learned a lot with this coach. He's an amazing guy. He's huge. He's like, the guy is a machine when it comes to getting work done and just to like, and I learned so much from him, but I realized that there's a huge opportunity here to help other guys that want this kind of growth and are really not sure where to go. And so like, I truly believe that like everyone I work with, if you put in the effort, you're going to get success. And I guarantee it because you just got to do the work. So
You got to matzah, right?
that's it.
If you put in the effort, then you
Yeah,
have,
it's very simple. Those who said they worked and succeeded, believe them. It's that simple.
yeah. But
But
why was it so
obviously there's a
important?
lot. There's a lot of gaps there. But like I gave you like I said, the shortest version that I can get to.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think I have a few more questions, but number one, like, why was it so important to find a Jewish coach? Why should it matter to people to have a Jewish coach?
Yeah, I mean because the value system is very different. So, like for example, the coach I had talked about like you got to do this every day. Well, guess what? With Shabbat, you can't do it every day, and
Right.
so people don't understand that. But there is a question, for example, like working out, right? Could you work out every day technically? Like right now, time of the year, no problem. Any time of the year technically can. You can go work out 9 p.m. if you want after Shabbat and get a workout in. Now the big question is like, what are your values and what's most important and why are you doing it? And that's
Give me
where
one
like,
second.
yeah.
Give me 1 second. Odella, Mandy's calling. Can you call him, please? My kid's carpool calls me normally,
Yeah.
and so I just tell my wife, "Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt."
No, it's all good.
Um,
No, so the reason why it's important to have someone Jewish is they understand my world. Like they talked about things about, doing something every day. But guess what? They don't daven every day. They don't daven every day 3 times a day. They don't have chitas to do. They don't have, the Kriyat Shema. They don't have, the meditation you're supposed to do before things. They
they
don't
don't
have
have all the list of things that a Jew needs to do, which takes up so many hours of the
exactly. They don't
day.
have kosher. So for me,
You said also
well,
about working out, right? That
yeah. So like for
um,
example, like he had this thing where he's like, you have to work out every day, and I believe in that. I think it's very important. But I don't work out on Shabbat, obviously. And then I'm not going to work out after Shabbat because I already know where I'm at. I know where I'm going. I know what's most important. And it's much more important for me to get to bed early so I can start my week off stronger than to get another workout in because I'm not here to be a professional bodybuilder. That's not my profession. And I already work out very hard the 6 days a week. So I don't need a seventh day. That doesn't make any sense for me. And so, like, that was
also
why
data shows that technically rest days are actually very beneficial, but that's besides the point.
it does, but it doesn't. I don't, to be honest, I don't even know if that's true on the workout
Okay.
side of things. But
Okay.
still, the point was that like we have all these things as observant Jews of what you have to do and all the things you're supposed to do, and how do you get it all done? When you're also supposed to do all these other things, and so it's so important. That's why I think it's so important because when you work with someone else who knows your world, then you understand what they're up against. You understand, or at least like what that looks like. So that's why, like, when I tell my guys to work out, my workout is very simple. I tell them, 10 minutes of hard working out, and that's it. 10 minutes is all they need. If you work out hard, do something for 10 minutes hard, it's going to be good. Because if you start to go to the gym for an hour, I don't know who has a family and is ambitious can just work out for an hour and just keep, and it's good.
Every day.
Every day, yeah, or even 6 days. I'm saying like, it's just, I mean, even an hour, I saw is like pushing it. Now, okay, if you're training for something, if you're okay, that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. But like asking those questions of like, why am I doing it? And understanding these things are very important. And so that's why it was important to me to create that for other ambitious, observant guys that think they have to, not, maybe they don't go to David Mincha with a minion because they have to work that extra 10 minutes. And I'm here to say that, no, that's not the case. You could do something different. You should still be able to. Now, if there's other things and there's other reasons and shalom bayit and whatever, okay, those are different reasons to not go to mincha with a minyan. But
Ask your local Orthodox rabbi.
exactly. But the point is that there's ways to figure it all out, and that's the kind of the point, and that's why I believe for someone who is observant, you'd want to, and that's why I always say, like, when it comes to coach, pick a coach that is where or has done the things that you want to do. And that's the key. And so, like, if you want to be, ambitious and you have big drive and you want to start companies and you want to do all this stuff, okay, then maybe you might relate to me. But if you want to, like, do something specific and someone else has done it, then you should find someone who does that, and like, that's the key. And so, thank God I'm very blessed to have been, very, like, multidimensional because of, like, what I did since, like, secular and all that, with, like, the health side of things and all that. But, like, so I feel like I have a very solid foundation that, people can use. But yeah, that's why I decided I believe it's needed. And that's why, I don't know, I think you see some of my content is all based on practical Torah, on bringing it down in a way that's action based. And that's all it's about. Like, how can I make it applicable? Because that's how I work with everything. When I learn a mimer, like, a lot of the mimers that are in the clouds, that are at Silut and Bria and Silus and all this stuff, for me, I don't really vibe with it so well, because it's like, what do I do with it? But the
Yeah.
ones that I love are the ones that are like thought, speech, and action, it's like, Vayishlach Yeshua, like, everything, bringing into thought, speech, and action, the Baal Tshuva, like, how do I bring it down? And how do I make it applicable in my daily life on a daily basis? And so, like, that's how I, approach everything. So it's like, I learned a mimer about, like, Shabbos and like what happens when you're, holding the cup. And so, like, I can visualize that and I can bring it down into my Shabbos experience, because now I've made it practical. I've made it a part of my life. And so that's how I like to approach everything that I do. And so that's why all my content is really based on practical, like, Torah lessons. Like, this is my favorite time of the year with Yosef. He's my favorite in the Torah. And so, like, this is like,
Yes.
it's my favorite. Everything about Yosef is like, because he had to look good and always in front of the mirror, and
Yeah.
he
I was
ran
gonna. Is he
He ran Egypt, but he didn't.
Wow.
But is my favorite. He's my favorite for sure.
I want to tell you something. I was just thinking now that I have to, because this is all about self-development. I was just thinking now, I have to, it's Parshas V'yeshev, it's about Yosef, and I remember there's just one sicha, one of the first halakim of Akut Sichas, which is the Rebbe's talks on the weekly Parsha. And it talks about, I'll get to that in a second, but it's crazy how you said that, and I was in my mind thinking, I have to mention this because it talks about why self-development is so important. I want to get, before I forget though, I want to ask, what are things you've seen for people that you've worked with and you've helped, and what have you seen them go on to do, or that you see them going on to do, that they're doing right now? Something that, I guess,
Like, tangible.
yeah.
So, I mean, some guys have changed their careers and going in now and now focusing on things that they really are best at and what they love doing. So getting into
They
a career
found their
choice.
place. Yeah.
Exactly. Finding where they want to go in clarity, in direction on what they want to be doing. So that's one area. Another area is just making more money. Guys have started side businesses with me, doing very well, making money on the side, doing things that they really enjoy doing and they're good at. Other guys, are just getting clear on where they want to go, getting clear on, what's most important to them and how they raise their family, things like that. I have other guys who are really just figuring themselves out. And so a lot of it is just getting grounded in how to handle life's challenges and to do more. Some guys are just building their business and learning how to bring in more people in their business and value, and making more money. Other people are looking to how they stay focused in their business and what really matters. So we go through what's working and not. And I start every one of my clients with the exercise called the My Why. So if anyone who's listening to this wants to try it out, I'm happy to share. I created a custom GPT for this, and it basically walks you through the process of what's most important. And I read it every day, every morning, or every night for the most part. And I read it. It's just because it keeps you clear on where you're going, so that when things happen throughout the day, you can easily say yes or no. You can understand, what's really a good use of your time versus not. And so that
Right.
that first step is everything. Because like I said, this I learned in the working out stage. In the beginning when I told you back a long time ago, is that without the meaning behind the working out, it's never going to work. It's very simple.
Yeah.
And so you have to know the meaning of your life. And if you don't know the meaning of your life, nothing's going to work because you're just going to keep going in these circles. And so the my why, that's why it's so crucial, is when you know those things. And things change. It's also fluid. The my why's fluid. When you have a baby, you add the baby's name to it because now that's a very important integral part of your life. And as things
Right.
change, as you change your career, it goes in there and you change it. And like once a year, I revisit it, or when things happen throughout the year that are significant, I'll revisit it and update it. But other than that, it's a solid document that you read every day to keep you grounded and to remind you when you do that and when you go to bed. It also is like building things in the night as as you sleep, and this new wiring of who you are becoming and who you are. And so it's just a very powerful tool that I have every one of my clients go through, because it's that important.
That makes so much sense. I mean, the first of all, the idea that you read this every single day is in my mind what allows you to be able to take stock and be, is that still my why, right?
Every day.
Because right.
So let me tell you what I do. I have a vision board, and it's on my phone. I literally swipe from my vision board to my why. I read through my whole my why. I swipe. I have my dreams, the dreams I have in life. I swipe. I have the goals I have for the year. And basically, after that, I update my standards of what I did in the day to make sure everything that I said I would be doing. So for example, I have a thing I go out with every one of my kids once a month, 30 minutes a day. I mean, 30 minutes a month, one on one with just that kid. So I have it in my standards so that when I go with my child, I click it that I've done it so that I know, okay, I have two more left. I have the two other kids because once they turn 3, then I start doing it. The baby, I don't think cares so much, to have 30 minutes with me, even though she gets 30 minutes with me too. But the point is, I have all these things that I go through to make sure I said these are the things that are most important. And I did all this in Elo. I have this whole Elo program that I go through as well, where everyone goes through this whole process to see where they're at, what needs to work on, and what they want to focus on.
Right.
And so, like, it's this whole process of keeping at the forefront of what is most important while still leaving the door open to knowing that Hashem's the boss. He's the guide. And if he doesn't want this to be something, he'll tell me very clearly. And I've gotten so many Hashgacha Pratis stories and messages from Hashem, like, that have just, like, been crazy because I know he is going to guide me. And that's just it. Like, I just, and that's how I work. So.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. And I think also, like, that's probably, and I think for so many people, just finding clarity, even if without any of the steps that inevitably come afterwards,
Correct.
is an accomplishment on its own. Because
Yeah.
so many people are just, I know myself, like, I'm doing, I'm like, even though I'm doing things, like, it takes a lot of commitment to go with something when you aren't clear yet on
Right.
exactly, even if you have an idea, the clarity, I think, is what frees people from
Correct.
from it's painful. It's painful not to have clarity.
Yeah, and that's why it's one of the most important things that a lot of guys come to me, especially in the foundational component, is getting that clarity, because there's a lot of pieces in the foundation that will help you get clarity. Because I'm always asking, like, before you take on a goal, does it align with your why? Do your dreams align with your why? If the answer is no, then something is off. You gotta figure it out. And when people ask you questions, does that align with your why? Like, in your day, are you looking at your day and what's going on in your day? Is the majority of the things align with your why? If the answer is no, then what, like everything, there's this test always to be checking yourself to ensure that you are going in the right path. And so clarity is crucial. And actually, a great line that I learned from my coach was, you don't have to make the right decision. You just have to make a decision and make it right. Meaning, decide you're going to go down the path, and Hashem will tell you if it's the right or wrong one. He will make it very clear. But just
Wow.
make that decision. Make it, and go all in on it. And if Hashem wants something to come up differently, he will make it happen. I've seen it happen in my life so many times. And again, I think it's the Baal Tshuva thing. My wife says, oh, it's because you're a Baal Tshuva. Everyone, all the people that grew up from birth, say the Baal Tshuvas get all the, like, prophecy, or they get to see all the pratis, right in front of them, because it doesn't happen to from birthers. But yeah, I mean, I've just been so blessed that, like, if I take a hard turn down a certain path, Hashem has made it very clear, like, this is the path,
Yeah.
or no, it's not. So
That's a good point. That's a very strong point. Like that's the bitachon aspect. It's like it'll be okay. You just got to do your part. Like
yeah, I mean, like, think about like this
wow.
culinary institute, right? I know the importance of food. I know the importance of the institute, and I think it's going to do amazing work. But did I care so much about culinary or food or any of that? The answer was no. But it came up at a time that I asked Hashem, like, where do I want to spend my time and work? And when you fast forward and look at all the blessings that I received, like, I had work over COVID in Israel, which is like, Israel is like such a hard place.
Crazy.
So I had work over then, work over the war. Like, I did all these different things, and it was just the blessings
That's
were just
right.
so clear in the direction. And then, like, Hashem said, okay, now it's time to move. And it was very clear when it was time to go.
Wow.
Like, it was so clear. Like, the writing was so clear. I was like, okay, Hashem, this is what I did for 6 years. I had an amazing experience. I learned so much. I had a great group of people I worked with, and it was such a blessing. But the time was over. It was just very clear. And so Hashem said, okay, now it's time to do something new. And I was like,
Wow.
what could I do? And I love what I was doing. And because I love personal growth, like, someone actually reached out and was like, hey, can you help me? I was like, okay, maybe this is the path,
Right. I want to say, may you continue to see blessings.
Amen. Thank you.
I just want to say, first of all, thank you for coming and sharing this. It's so many amazing points, very, very inspiring. I wanted to just say this earlier about Yosef. So it says, and also talking about his beauty, right? It says that he was Yefei Ter V'Yefei Mara. The Torah says by a few people, right, that they were beautiful both in form. I mean, everything about them is beautiful.
Yep.
And the Rebbe explains that spiritually, this means that his midos, he was a refined person. And it explains that, I'm going to paraphrase a little bit, but basically his success, or the reason why people, found that he found favor in people's eyes, was because of his, quote unquote, spiritual, good looking aspects, right?
Yeah.
And so he explains that this is actually why self-development is so important, because every single person has a responsibility not to only change himself, but to change the entire world around him.
Yep.
But the problem is that if a person comes off as a person who is not, however you want to put it, well-mannered, or doesn't work on himself, someone who's not a mensch, so people won't receive the influence from that person that really they have to give.
Correct.
And so a person must work on becoming a Yefei Ter V'Yefei Mara, must work on becoming spiritually beautiful, because their self-development is not just a private affair, it's a public affair. It's something that affects everybody that will come in contact with that person. And so that's why, it's crazy that you mentioned Yosef. It's such an important story when it comes to self-development.
Yeah, it's my favorite. I mean, literally, all the content I created, like, last week and this week, and next week with Yosef, is my favorite, because there's so many great points. Like, my favorite, like, I did the other day, is that, like, there are no setbacks. Like, every step is just a stepping stone to getting you closer to where you got to go, even if it looks awful, even if it's, the worst thing in the world. And we just know that it's just getting you to where you need to go, and it's all getting you forward, but we just don't see that always. And yeah, I love this time of the year, and Hanukkah and light, and it's just amazing. It's such a powerful time, and yeah, it's one of my favorite times of the year, that's for sure.
Wow, Nachman, thank you so much for coming on.
Pleasure.
May Hashem continue to send you brachas, and may
Amen.
you have the merit to bring other people that they should receive their blessings.
Amen.
And yeah, you should. We're almost before Shabbos, so good Shabbos, and
Shabbos.
God bless you. And hopefully we'll have you again to speak again, or if even even more in depth.
Sounds good. Appreciate it. Thanks so much for having me.